Two of my Black Frieza discussion because I'm concerned about whether or not this whole thing and this hype surrounding Frieza and his new transformation is actually going to be worthwhile once we get him back either in the manga or the anime, because I've spoken about it in part one. Frieza comes back, he gets a power boost, maybe someone dies temporarily or the planet's blown up in the case of revival of F, and then essentially things are redone and Frieza gets, put away, and it's like, okay, now we're just gonna have to wait for the next time Frieza comes back. Like, I'm hoping that his mention of the gods and wanting to possibly control them or take over the hierarchy of the gods, I do hope that that has some serious consequences in there for our Z fighters, because to me that would make the whole return of Frieza actually seem noteworthy this time around. I think it would actually make him seem a lot more dangerous. I don't take Frieza as seriously anymore. I respect his power, I respect his position in Dragon Ball. He's a great OG, but he's not really accomplishing much, and I'm worried about that. To control the multiverse may be a little bit more complicated than we think. For one, there's several ways he can try to go about doing this. One idea I've seen floating around is that there may be a second Tournament of Power returning with the newest upcoming Dragon Ball Web anime series. And maybe in that Tournament of Power, if Frieza is able to win and actually get the Super Dragon Balls for himself, he'll obviously be able to essentially wish for whatever he wants. And that could be multiversal domination. Another potential idea is that Frieza will somehow become, I should say, an acquaintance with maybe one of the gods of destruction. Granted, they all look at him pretty despairingly, but we've all seen that characters in Dragon Ball Super don't always stick to their guns, so to speak, and all it takes is a little temptation and some reward or benefits, maybe, to tip the scales. I don't see this being the likely option. I think there will be a second Tournament of Power, or perhaps something else that hasn't actually been revealed to us in the lore yet that Frieza will actually take advantage of in order to try to control the multiverse. But you guys let me know. I have to be honest, man. I'm not entirely sure anything is going to really bear any fruit with this whole Black Frieza transformation. Once he obviously returns to the main story, and obviously he's probably fighting Goku and or Vegeta, because it just seems like it's been the same running thing with Frieza since he's been back. He comes back, he gets stronger, and then he still ends up getting bodied. And anything he does do that's considered quote unquote catastrophic to our heroes, aka the Z fighters, it's always very short term and very temporary. And I understand that's kind of the point of Frieza, but what is the actual point of bringing back the same villain over and over just for him to only have what, maybe a couple of minutes of something quote unquote destructive, and then essentially Goku and or Vegeta or both of them are going to find a way to put him away, or maybe even another character in the case of Future Trunks during DBZ, and then it's like you just gave this guy a transformation, new power boost, just for him to level the scales only for a bit of time. What do you think is actually going to cultivate from this Black Frieza transformation?
Frieza raised Goku. Now, I'm sure there's some fan-made manga out there, possibly with the story or idea about how this would go down, but I think it simply comes down to looking at Goku's character as we know it today. He hit his head, and instead of having those evil, like, Saiyan intentions like his brother Raditz, Goku had a Saiyan, essentially pure of heart, at least to some extent, super, aloof. I mean, we know Goku's character, right? I think if he was raised by Frieza, Goku would be subordinate, but I don't know for how long. Now, I think because if we're talking about a completely different timeline here, Goku hasn't fought the other villains that he fought prior to Frieza, which means he's not going to be as strong, I think, being in this subordinate role to Frieza. Therefore, he wouldn't be at a point to challenge Frieza like he was on planet Namek in the actual canon timeline. But I think it would be a matter of time, maybe couple more years, a decade, I don't know how long, later in the future, that Goku would eventually get to the point like Vegeta did, where he was sick of being under Frieza's rule and then eventually challenge him to a fight.